All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our review math session that I'm going to do for you today. And I'm so excited to jump right in because I have learned a few new techniques that I think are going to be very helpful for you on your test. So let's go ahead and get started with this. Let's take a look at our very first problem that we have here. Now, we've talked about place value, we talked about number value, digits, and so forth, expanded form. So this is going to cover all of chapter 1. And if you can work through these problems, then you are going to be successful. If you have any questions at all, everybody's parents has my cell phone number. All they have to do is give me a call, send me a message, and I will be available. So let's take a look at this first one. Now, what I always do when we are reading and when we are looking at finding answers for a word problem, it says, first of all, read our question completely. It says, find the value of the 10,000 place for the big roller coaster. Okay, so I need to find the big roller coaster because that's what the question is. I'm going to just cross that out. Getting used to this board. I guess, can I erase that? Give me just a second, guys. Always learning something new on technology boards, but that is okay. I did not mean to erase that, but we will
Okay,
move
boys and
right
girls,
on.
side by side.
There you go.
We're going to use the eraser, and we are going to calibrate this board.
Fabulous. Miss Gardner was so glad to let me use her screen today, and I am so thankful she did because she's got awesome supplies and neat colors that we get to work our problems with. So hang on because it is going to be fabulous. And get ready to rock and roll. Here we go, everyone. So let's look back at our problem. Now, again, we are going to find the value of the 10,000 place for the big roller coaster. So we're going to go right back over here because our chart tells us in the first column the name of the ride. And then in the second column, the tickets that are sold. So we're going to go and we're going to look in the name of our ride. We're just going to go on right down here to find that big roller coaster. And we are going to take a look at the tickets that were sold. And we want to know the value of the 10,000th place. Well, I'm going to count over my ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, and I have a 7 in my 10,000th place. And so if I write that 7, and then if I make everything after that zeros, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, count them with me, 2, 3, 4 zeros. Then that makes 70,000. So the value of my 7 in the 10,000th place is 70,000. That is so easy. Isn't that amazing? So now let's move on and let's learn a little bit more. How is the value of the digit then in the 10,000th place different from the value of the digit in the 1,000th place? Well, ladies and gentlemen, as we talked when we looked at place value earlier, like in lesson 1, we learned that each place value increases by 10. And so as the ones column fills up by 10, then it goes over to the tens and so forth. So how the value of the digit in the 10,000s, me a tongue twister, place value is different from the value of the digit in the in the thousands column, it's by 10,000s. It's by tens. Is that correct? Did I say that correctly? Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. I was making sure that I got that.
Each place value increases by powers of 10.
By tens. That's what I was making sure. Because we had talked earlier about it overflowing. So it moved to the next column. So we wanted to write that it moves or it increases by tens. All right, very good, ladies and gentlemen. You are doing such a great job. So proud of you. All right, let's take a look again at number 2. Now here we have another chart. We're talking about the name of the ride and the tickets sold. Now, let's look at our question. For which ride does the number tickets sold have a 6 in the greatest place value? And then we're going to explain how we know. Okay, so let's look at what do we want to know? What is our question asking us for? Well, we need to know, first of all, we're going to look at our answer choices. That's going to help us. Our first one says, is it water slide because it has the greatest number of tickets sold? Well, let's look and mark our the name of our ride, water slide, because that could be a candidate. Okay, now look at letter B, tilt-a-whirl, because the 6 is in the hundreds place. So one of our choices could be the tilt-a-whirl because they're saying that there is a 6 here. And then wild mouse because the 6 is in the 10,000s place. So this is our other choice. So we have to choose between these 3 rides. Now, water slide, yes, you're right. It does have a 6 in the number 856,077. This was the largest amount of tickets that were sold, but does that mean that it necessarily had the 6s in the largest? Or, I'm sorry, let me back up, ladies and gentlemen. Let me say this slower. Does that necessarily mean that this digit 6 holds the highest place value? Well, no, it doesn't. Because if I look at the other 2, that will tell me. So let's go back up to the tilt-a-whirl. The same here. Well, it has a 6 as well. So what do you think about that? What place value does this digit 6 have? Exactly. I knew you knew it. It is in the hundreds column. Okay, so this 6 has a value of 600. So that's still not the highest. So I knew you were on the right track. So you knew that C was going to have to be the right answer. Now, let's make sure that we clarify though, because we have to explain how we know. There's 2 parts. If you take a look, there is a 6 here, which is in the hundreds column as well. This digit 6, its value is 600. But then you also have this 6, which the digit is in the 10,000s column. And this digit is the one that holds the highest place value because remember, it was the 6 that has the greatest place value. So out of all of these 6s, wild mouse, this 6 right here was the one that had the highest. Very good. We good? A thumbs up. Remember, any questions, do not hesitate to ask. All right, let's take a look. And this was one of my favorites. Number 3, to compare the number of tickets sold for the spinning teacups and the big roller coaster. So we're going to write a number sentence using greater than, less than, or equal to. Now I know we talked about this, and we're going to be comparing 100,678 with, we're going to find out if it's less than, greater than, or equal to 377,469. And we talked about making sure that when we were comparing two numbers, that we could stack them on top of one another. And so since these two numbers do have the same number of digits in them, then we can write them on top of one another, nice and neat, keeping our columns straight so that they are easy for us to use. Now, we always start when we're comparing. This one was a little bit different because normally we talked about starting on the ones. But when we're comparing numbers, we start here on the left. And so we look to see if they are the same or different. So on the left-hand side, we can see here automatically that the 1 and the 3 are not the same. So we know that they're not going to be equal to one another, okay? But now I have to ask myself, I have a 1 and I have a 3. So if I'm going to write my number sentence, am I going to say that my 1 is less than or greater than my 3? What do you think? Think about it. Very good, guys. I'm so proud of you. You are on it today. My 100,678 is definitely less than 377,469. Because I always say that less than sign, it still reminds me of that lazy L. Okay? And I want to eat that bigger number. Call me a little old-fashioned. I still refer back to eating that bigger number. Okay? Now, the next number 4, wants us to enter the number of tickets sold for the big roller coaster. So we're going to have to go back to our chart and look at the big roller coaster. I should have had this one memorized. 377,469. I like the way you all are saying that number so clear, and that when you get to the comma, you're not saying an and. Fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. Okay, so we have written and we have entered this number from our previous chart that we worked on before, and we're going to do a little bit extra with it, and we're going to move on to the next part of number 4. So let's read this one carefully. Follow along with me. What is the expanded form of the number? Ladies and gentlemen, this is something where I've told you all along, you can always learn something new. And so this is going to be something new, and I'm going to show it to you, and I think you're going to love it, and I'm so excited. So let's go ahead with this part. Woo, so excited. So let me show you this. Remember I told you earlier that expanded form is stretching out a number, okay? Kind of said it was like that accordion. Well, watch what I'm going to do with expanded form now. Remember, we took each digit and we stretched it out and we added addition signs. We added plus signs with it, okay? So now watch what I'm going to do. This is a big number, 377,469. Let me show you this. So I'm going to take my first digit, my 3, okay? And then I'm going to add just zeros. I'm going to fill these in with zeros behind it. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I'm going to add my 5 zeros. And I'm going to add my addition sign. And guess what, boys and girls? I have 300,000. That's my first digit in expanded form. Now I'm going to move to my next digit. Watch. So now I have my 7, and I'm going to add zeros to all the places after it. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm going to add 4, and I'm going to add my comma. And now I have 70,000. All right, 377,000. Very good. So we are moving along, and I have my next 7. So I'm going to add my plus, my addition sign. Here's my next 7, and I'm going to add how many zeros, boys and girls? Tell me. I think I hear it. Yes, I do. Very good. I have 3 zeros. So I have 1, 2, and 3 zeros. And I'm going to add my addition sign. And then now I have my 4. And how many zeros does it get? Very good. 400. It gets 2 zeros behind that. And then I'm left with, almost at the end, boys and girls, I have a 6. And I have 1 zero. And then I'm going to add my 9. I hope you can see that there. I will move over to the side. So now you have just written in expanded form 300,000 plus 70,000 plus 7,000 plus 400 plus 60, and then the 9 were the ones placed that are left over. And you just did a fabulous job. I'm so proud of you. And I knew you would love this. I knew to see something different and fresh was going to absolutely help you so much. And I'm so excited to get to show you that. So now our next step is we need to write this in word form. Okay, and yes, it is a little bit long, and yes, it is a little bit long, but that's okay. It's going to be, we got this. We are good. So we are going to write, if we can say it, then we can write it. So we are going to write 300 70 77,000, comma 3,007, and then 400 69. And there, my boys and girls, you have just written in your standard form, which is your number form, and you have written in your expanded form, which is your expanding the number and adding your zeros in your addition, and then your word form. So you have done an excellent job. Let's take a look at number 5. Now, the director of the park director records the number of visitors each week. So for each number of visitors, we are going to round the place value of the underlined digit. So here on our table, our data, we have week number 1, 2, and 3, the number of visitors, and then they're asking us for the rounded number. Okay, you and I talked about this. So here they have underlined the number 2. This is the number that we want to change. Now remember, we talked about that our friend is the only friend that we can have is the friend to the right. He's going to be the one that can decide whether or not we are going to move up or we are going to round down. Now, so this 6, and we said that in order to round up, then it has to be 5 or greater. We said in order for it to round down, it had to be 4 or below. So we are going to use the 6 to determine if this 2 will be able to change or not. So the 6 is greater, then it's 5 or greater. So this 2 I can write and we'll be able to change to 3. Now, everything behind the 2 will become a 0. So we add the 3 zeros. Now, everything in front of the number that we were changing, it stays the same. Okay? So that should be helpful and a little bit clearer for you as well. Let's take a look at week number 2. They want us to round the 3, which is in the hundreds column. They want us to round it. We need to determine if it's going to move up, if it's going to a 4, or if it's going to stay the same. So we're going to, again, use our 7. That's our friend to the right. In that 7 determines whether or not we can change or not. So is this 7 big enough? Is it 5 or above? Can it change us to a 4? What do you think? Thumbs up? I agree. You are absolutely correct. So this 7 is 5 or greater, so it is large enough to change this to a 4. So my 3 becomes a 4, and these two numbers, the 7 and the 9, become zeros. And remember that the 3, or now the 4, everything in front of the number we were rounding stays the same. Okay? Now, this is our last number to round, and we are rounding to the 10,000th place. Remember, we have ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, and 10,000s. So the number to the right is going to be the one that's going to determine whether or not we can change the 8. Is 2 going to be big enough to move? Is it going to have enough power to get us up over the hill? No, it's not. It's going to have to stay where it is. So our 8 is going to stay the same, and all of these numbers are going to turn into zeros. So our week 1 rounded to 133,000, week 2 rounded to 220,400, and week 3 rounded to 80,000. Now we're going to use these numbers to complete number 6 because they want us to use estimate. We're going to use estimation. So it says use the numbers in the chart showing the number of visitors at an amusement park to solve the problems. And our first keyword here is to estimate. Now, part 1 says about how many people visited the amusement park during week 2 and week 3. So let's go back up, and I'm going to give you a minute or so. Let's take a second. Let's look at this. So week 2 and week 3, we're going to be looking at the rounded numbers because when we round, this is our estimation. This is what was recorded, but this is where we need to focus. And so we took our data, 220,000. Did I get it right? I'm sorry. Hold on, guys. Just a second. Technology. Okay, just making sure. Okay. All right, that works. So, weeks 2 and 3. Now, about how many people visited the amusement park during week 2 and week 3. So we want to know what we are going to do with our 220,400 and 80,000. Are we going to add or are we going to subtract? What words in our question are going to help us to figure that out? Well, about, which is our estimation, how many people. This is going to tell us, ladies and gentlemen, that we're going to add. We need to add these two estimated numbers together to find out what the question is asking us. So we're going to add 220,400 plus 80,000. We're going to make sure everything is lined up. And we're going to start 0 plus 0 is 0. 0 plus 0 is 0. And then 4 plus 0 is 4. We're going to bring down our comma. And then 0 plus 0 is 0. And our 2 plus 8 is 10. So remember, I'm going to put down my 10, and then I'm going to carry my 1. So 2 plus 0 is 2, but then I have to add the 1 that I carried over. So my estimated answer is 300,400 visitors attended during week 2 and week 3. What a lot of guests. You are doing so well. So we had an estimated 300 for and any questions? Like I said, everybody's parents has my number. I don't mind text. I don't mind a phone call. Anything we can do. Now, part 2, and we're going to wrap this lesson up, okay? This is the last part about how many more people visited the amusement park during week 1 than week 3. So let's take a look. We need a keyword because we know we're going to go to our table, find out our numbers from week 1 and week 3, but we're going to find out what are we going to do? How are we going to set up our problem? So we know we're going to use the estimated column again, and then we're going to look for our keywords. So about how many more people. This is going to tell us, boys and girls, that we are going to be subtracting weeks 1 and week 3. So we are going to be subtracting 133,000, and we're going to subtract 80,000 to get our correct estimation. So we are going to subtract another skill that we did this chapter. We know that 0, take away 0 is 0. 0 take away 0 is 0. Bring down our comma. And then 3 take away 0 still leaves us with 3. And then we know that we're going to have to take the 10 out of this column. So, and we're going to add, this becomes our 13. And 13 take away 8 leaves us with what, ladies and gentlemen? Very good. I knew you were still listening, even though you did so well during this review. And I apologize, too, for making it a long review. I just felt that you needed a little bit more clarification, and I wanted to make sure you had a different understanding. So I thank you so much for hanging in there. You did a great job. If you need anything, I love you. I'm there, whatever you need, and I will talk to you soon. Have a wonderful night. Good night, everyone. I will talk to you soon.